It has been a long damn time getting here. I first worked with Quentin Tarantino on a movie called Desperado. It was the first time I met Cheech and worked with Cheech. It was the first time I met and worked with a man of the hour that I'm going to bring out in a second here. Back then I told him about Machete. I said, you have to be Machete. Because first of all, he has a face that's so iconic. I mean, it's like you could rock climb that face. It is, he is the man. But the second thing that really impressed me was just, he asked if, what the worst high schools were in the area that were shooting Desperado because he wanted to go talk to them. I mean, this is a guy who had seen a hard life of his own and had turned his life around. And you don't make mistakes in life when you fall down. It's when you don't get back up and do something with your life that you make a true mistake. And so he's constantly been an inspiration to me. And I just have to bring him out so you can meet him before we put on the movie, because this movie is all him. When I did Desperado, I was shocked to find that there weren't many Latin actors getting work in Hollywood. And I just set out on a mission to discover talent, to give them a chance to, I had to go find Salma Hayek and put her in Desperado. And I wanted to create my own stars so that we could make movies like this, where I was just in Venice, Italy, and people were chanting, Machete, 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 and they were going, Danny, 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 taking pictures of Danny. I mean, he'd been built up after 189 movies, 9 of which are my own. I just have to tell you, this is the guy who is now just, from ex-con to icon. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Trejo!
Thank you, Robert Rodriguez! And thank you, Austin, Texas. God. And my cousin Sonny from San Antonio. You know what? We couldn't have done this movie without the unbelievable cast that we had. Robert put together a great cast.
Oh, in the very beginning, you see a girl who's very creative and where she puts her cell phone. Mayra! Just tell us real quick, what was it like shooting your scene?
It was pretty nerve-wracking.
It was one of those things where I told her, look, I've done a lot of movies that have nudity in them in Sin City, so we're very sensitive. We keep the crew pretty much off the set, and we take our time, and it's going to be very relaxed. This ended up not being the case after all. I lied. Not on purpose. It was just, we ended up having to shoot this movie so quickly and in such a low budget that it was no time to clear the set, no time to do it. It was just, sorry, you have to be naked, we got to go, action! And she did so fantastic considering her heart was pounding out like this. Michelle Rodriguez, can you come out here with this? Michelle. Isn't that the coolest when she steps out of the ambulance with a patch on her eye? One thing about, as the cast kept growing, and as you start writing parts for the characters, it just becomes evident once you do the casting that you've got to change the part completely, and that's what it was like with Michelle. Originally her character died, midway through when she got shot in the eye, and I was like, fuck that, you ain't dying, we're gonna put a patch in your eye, you're coming back! I'm gonna ask Jeff how we met way back in the day. Do you remember when that was? I had first gotten to LA for El Mariachi. And I went
you were editing. That was, what year was that?
It was 1992.
92, you went to a party. Yeah. You went to a party, walked up to the table and introduced yourself and said, I'm a fan, I've been watching some of your stuff, I'm here editing a film that I'm doing, and I was sitting with Nick Nolte and Brian James. And Robert said, yeah, I'd like to work with you someday. And he just got to town. I said, hey, man, hope to see you down the road, have a drink, have some food. And years later, what is it? How many years later we end up together? Pulled me out of the mountains.
18 years later, baby.
Yeah, well, thank you, brother.
And he's awesome. It's a great feeling because I was such a fan of his and getting to put him, in the movie and have Quentin turn to me at the Venice Film Festival yesterday and say, really love Jeff Fahey in this movie. He's fantastic.
What was the Foley effect for the telephone, for the cell phone in the very beginning?
That was several things. The reason is when you're mixing the movie again, you're thinking about the audience, and you're particularly thinking about the Austin audience. And you know that as soon as she reaches down, everyone's going to already be laughing and cheering and making a lot of noise, and they might not hear the sound effects. You kind of overdo it. So when you watch this movie later in a quiet theater or on DVD, you're going to hear a lot of sound effects. And there's like chewing apples, there's squishing, watermelon squishing, there's something called a mustard bottle that you squeeze, all kinds of things. I know, it's just to make sure that you can still hear it, even if you're cheering and laughing. You have to make sure that you still hear it. And even then, I was still turning up the volume a little bit. So that's not that trivial. It's actually good for those filmmakers who want to know what sound effects to use. It's always been a great trick of Danny's, just disarm people, because I would find that when I'd go places with him, little kids have seen him in the Spy Kids movies, and they would come breaking away from their parents and running to him, and much to the shock of their parents, like, what have I been teaching you not to go to strangers like that, especially one that looks like that? And then he would just say, oh, hi kids, it's me, Uncle Machete. And of course, and the parents would be, oh, okay, we like you. There was a lot of Danny in this character. We've been working on him literally since Desperado. So we've been talking about him over and over again. That's why he slipped into the Spy Kids movies with the codename of Machete, just because we just love the character. We never thought we'd actually get here, so it's a real thrill. But Danny would call me all the freaking time for all of those years, saying, when are we going to make Machete? When are we going to make Machete? And then when we made the trailer, everyone went crazy for the trailer. So then audiences, more than Sin City 2, would ask me and Danny, when are you going to make, Machete? And so then Danny would really start calling, and I never answer my phone because no one calls. Everyone knows to email me. So I'd say, Danny, why don't you just email or something? I can't. I'm in like a meeting, or I can't just pick up the phone and talk to you 3 times a day. I love you, Danny, but just email me or text. And he said, Machete don't text. That's actually perfect. I wrote that down when it was in the script.
When I saw that in the script, I just started laughing.
That's a real line from the real Machete.
Machete improvising.
So I'm curious, because we all love the trailer, but did you have any concept of the fleshing out of the story when you wrote the trailer, or are you just making, in the pure exploitation style, a badass trailer?
And he told me the story 16 years ago on Desperado. I mean, he said, this is what we want to do, blah, blah, blah. Pretty close to it.
We had a story originally. I had already even registered a script back in 1993. Some of the scenes I started cannibalizing, like the scene from Once Upon a Time in Mexico with when they're handcuffed together and going down to the hospital. That was the hotel. That was originally in the Machete script, so that went back a long way. Someone that could be really underestimated by the bad guys is someone that looks like a day laborer. They think he's a day laborer, but he comes from Mexico. He was a federal agent fighting drug cartels, the toughest job in the world. Get your family killed if you do that. And I thought it would be a really cool character. You always need a good action hero that's underestimated. I thought that would be the ultimate. Imagine any other actor we got to play Machete, and it would be somebody acting tough, or try to act like Danny, who is the real deal. You see him on the screen, and that's what's so exciting, is that you know he's the real deal. And he's got, a history, he's got a past, and he's done something great with himself, but he's got this face and this stoicism and this magnetism. On the set of Desperado, he wasn't the star of the movie, but when we put the cameras on, all the people from the town would just circle around him because they thought he was the star of the movie, because this guy just looked unbelievable. So I just knew he had something even back then.
You mean I wasn't?
And I would tell him, you were the star of the movie. But I told him back then that he was going to be in Machete someday, and then, 16 years later. So never give up on your ideas. If you have an idea, keep it in your head, because you never know.